Climate and Biodiversity, Factors Affecting Climate. Before we start our discussion, let me introduce myself. I am Riza Enumerabellon, your speaker for today. Let's start! Hi there, how are you? What are you wearing today? Are you wearing your sweater or jacket because it is freezing cold? Or are you wearing your swimsuits under the shining sun? This is because we usually consider when choosing what clothes to wear daily depending on the state of the atmosphere or what we call weather. Weather is a mix of events or conditions that happens in our atmosphere over a period of hours or days. Weather can be described as a thunderstorm, a snowstorm, or the current temperature. Weather varies dramatically from one day to the next and from one year to the next. For example, we may have a warm summer this year and a significantly warmer summer of the following year. This type of shift is typical, but when the average pattern changes over a long period of time, it is now referred to be climate. Climate refers to the average weather conditions in a place over many years. The climate in the Philippines is tropical and maritime, with generally high temperatures, considerable humidity, and abundant rainfall. The most significant elements of climate are temperature, humidity, and rainfall or precipitation. The climate of the Philippines may be split into two primary seasons using these elements: the rainy season, which runs from June to November, and the dry season, which runs from December to May. The dry season is separated into two parts: the cold dry season, which runs from December to February, and the hot dry season, which runs from March to May. The climate of a place varies from one area to another for a variety of reasons. However, there are several broad elements that may be identified as influencing climate, including latitude, altitude, topography, distance from oceans or big bodies of water, and ocean currents. Let us discuss first latitude. Latitude is the specific north to south grid positions on the Earth ranging from 0 degree at the equator to 90 degrees at the poles. The equator's lower latitudes receive the most sunlight. As latitude increases, temperature decreases. Let's move on to the next element, which is altitude. Altitude is the height of an area above sea level. In general, the colder the temperature is, the higher the elevation. Every 100 meters in altitude, the temperature drops by 1 degree Celsius. Even when the weather in the valleys is mild, snow can be found on the top of a high mountain. Temperatures are colder in higher altitude locations. The temperature of the air is affected by the height of the location. Take Valencia, Negros Oriental, for example. Valencia is known for Little Baguio due to its cold temperature because the area is highly elevated. Why do mountaineers wear jackets and thick clothes when they go up to the mountain? There is less air at higher elevations. Because the air molecules are further apart, the air is less dense. Because less dense air can't absorb as much heat, the air temperature drops. The fall in air temperature is ultimately related to a decrease in air pressure. The more distance you are from the Earth's surface and its gravitational forces, the less gravity you will feel. It permits the airborne particles to expand, lowering the air pressure even further. As air expands as it rises, fewer gas molecules such as nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide are present. As a result, they have a lower likelihood of colliding with one another. Now let us discuss the third element, which is topography. Topography refers to the natural features or arrangement of an area like land. A mountain is an example of a land's topographic features. Mountainous locations have a significant impact on the amount of precipitation that falls in a given area. As you can see, the image depicts two sides of the mountain, one of which faces the wind and has a lower temperature. This side is called the windward side. Here, the wind is blocked by the mountain, forcing it to move upward. As it moves up, the water vapor condenses and forms clouds. This will result in precipitation on the windward side. The air moves down towards the opposite region called the leeward side. On this side of the mountain, there is no cloud formation. The cold air mass starts to absorb heat and becomes warm and dry. As a result, the air near the leeward side becomes dry and has less precipitation. The dry region on the leeward side is called a rain shadow. Vegetation in this region include desert, plants, and grassland. Close proximity to oceans and other major bodies of water tends to have more moderate seasonal climate fluctuations. The average precipitation in these places is also higher than in landlocked areas. There are, however, exceptions. Landlocked places are those that are located in the middle of enormous geographical masses and have drier climates with extremely high yearly temperatures. Oceans heat up and cool down much more slowly than land. This means that coastal locations tend to be cooler in summer and warmer in winter than in places inland at the same latitude and altitude. Now we are down to our next element, which is ocean currents. Ocean currents move like rivers. They flow through the ocean in different directions. Currents are caused by the wind, earthquakes, and gravity. Some currents are warm and some currents are cold. This picture depicts several surface current loops from around the world. The current flows in a clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. The current on the other side flows counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. The Coriolis effect is responsible for the clockwise and counterclockwise movement of ocean currents. Warm water is carried by ocean currents that flow away from the equator. The temperature of the air above the warm water is higher. When warm water is carried by ocean currents to a coastal region, the temperature of that region rises, resulting in a warm climate. The warm corrosion current, for example, which originates in the northern Philippines, transports warm water, raising the temperature in the southeastern section of Japan. Meanwhile, cold weather is carried by the ocean currents that flow away from the poles. The temperature of the air above cold water is lower, and when the ocean currents transport cold water to a coastal region, the temperature of that region drops, resulting in a cold climate. The cold air transported by the West Australian current, for example, brings cooler temperatures to the southern portions of Singapore and Indonesia. Therefore, ocean currents that bring along cold water inland make the climate cold. On the other hand, ocean currents that take along warm water inland make the climate warm. Now let's wrap things up. Weather is a mix of events or conditions that happens in our atmosphere over a period of hours or days. On the other hand, climate refers to the average weather conditions in a place over many years. The factors that affect climate are latitude, altitude, topography, distance to oceans or large bodies of water, and ocean currents. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and this is Riza P. Enumerabellon leaving you a quote by Mark Twain saying, "Climate is what we expect, weather is what we get." Bye! See you next time!